I guess my career in careers education really started when I finished my course through a placement at St Kevin's College. I was advised to contact Max Marrow, another life member, at Carey because he employed someone to do his work experience program. And so I did that, and that was the beginning of a really great mentor relationship for me with Max. After that happened, Max took some leave and I filled in for him. And I was advised at that time by a couple of long-standing members that I needed to get involved with CAV because that's the only way that networking really worked in this industry. And through that network, because I was ultimately looking for a permanent position, that was the only way you would really do that. So I promptly organised a membership at CAV, through which I met wonderful other careers practitioners from all schools, for example, Kirsten Lahn. And I started with the what used to be called the New Career Advisor Conference. And the one I went to was down at Warm Ponds at Deakin. And Frank Thompson was the mentor leader in my group. Now I realise how fortunate that was. And I started with a number of careers practitioners who I'm now very close friends with, having been doing it since really 2003, 4. At that conference, it was about what you do on the job as opposed to doing the course, which was more theoretical. And so we did practice interviews, appointments, and got tips and things about that, and also lots of resources, but also how to find resources. Jackie Burton was there as well. And so from there, and attending the network Yarra Careers Group network groups, I then sort of jumped into a position at Swinburne Senior Secondary, and then St Catherine's, and then for the last 16 and a half years at St Kevin's. I think my involvement in the Yarra Careers Group was prompted by those early interactions I had with CAV, and then also they were annual but now biannual conferences. Not only the amazing international speakers that we had, but also just the dinners and dancing and, all the fun that everyone seems to have as well. I'm just convinced there's a type of person who makes a good career advisor and everyone gets on, very, very well. I also did a PD after that initial one with Naomi Corlett, who really inspired me into making sure that I kept up with both Australian and international research in careers as part of my evolving professional development. And she was also the one that just re-instilled in me the value of networking and how the CAV was the conduit for that. And I guess I look at the Yarra Careers Group as then a platform from which to sort of provide ideas for CAV, but also, in its own right, as a part of the sort of ACE organisation to advocate for careers practitioners. So I was president of Yarra for 5 years after being secretary for 5 before that, and I've just resigned at the end of last year off the committee. But it was an inspiring and wonderful time to be both learning and also helping new careers practitioners, providing opportunities for amazing speakers and networking, which is really what I learned from CAV. The most important thing about Yarra is that we've tried to make it, and prior to me, other presidents, including Max and Kirsten and Kate Runciman and Robin McKenzie, really, and Jackie, of course, Jackie Burton, really made sure that it was a sharing organisation. And so there's not a sort of competitive nature between careers practitioners in different schools. And Yarra is lucky, it's fortunate in that it has a good reputation for providing information and professional development for careers practitioners. So the membership goes way broader than whatever the confines of Yarra was supposed to be. and because we don't lose members when they go to different schools, they go to their new careers group, but they also remain with us, or which was with us. You have a wealth of knowledge from a plethora of different types of schools as well. So look, we would run amazing PD days. We had one last year on green careers, and the people that we get to speak because of the networking are just incredible. You know, the old VTAC sessions we used to go to, and then afterwards we would debrief, and there would be a lot of anxious and outspoken people about what they thought was right or wrong about VTAC. But what we were able to do in that forum was kind of balance, I guess, people's opinions and make sure that everyone was on a professional platform, because everyone's so passionate about careers education that sometimes you know, people's passion gets the better of them in terms of reactions and responding. And I think what Yarra really taught me was all of the stakeholders need to work together to provide careers education in Victoria at the standard that it is. And so, yeah, Yarra, you know, lots of friendships from Yarra, amazing executive committees to work with, and the opportunity to provide members with networking and all the things that I know are important, networking and professional development. Like in inverted commas, excursions that we go on to the different universities, or Max used to be amazing. He used to have so many linkages. We used to go to wineries and places like the Australian, like the hotel school would support us to do that. And so we would learn all about what they do, but we would also be in a forum where that collegiality was so evident. And, you know, going into state as well, like, because other unis would then know who you were and they would ask you and invite you to go into state. And then you'd bring back that information to the Yarra Careers group. I mean, a lot of people I think I've chaired a session at the conference, but I haven't spoken. But, you know, hearing your peers speak is really good as well. I don't know, there's so much value that it's hard to put into words exactly what, you know, to remember the experiences. But all of it has been really positive and helped me keep going in careers education, because it was not my first career. So I came to it after I'd had my family, and I think I was passionate about it enough to re-get my VIT, to do, you know, the diploma, and then not knowing then really anything about how to do it. That's what is inspiring, is that you learn how to be a careers educator from the collegiality and the knowledge passed from people to people, and it's just amazing. I don't think there's many careers where there's not competition between people or organisations, but I just don't feel that, because we're all wanting the best for our students. When I first started, Shirley Yao had been in charge, and Sue Carey were there, and I've, you know, kept up with them also over the years. And then I had Susanna Chioduli, who was with me after actually working with Jackie as her assistant, I think, at Grammar, I think, all those years ago. She then went to Yarra Valley Grammar, and she's just retired. I've currently got Sam Horstman, who was from Collingwood and Fitzroy Secondary, and she's just brought an amazing wealth of breadth of knowledge about different cohorts, which is fantastic, because the cohort at our school is changing. I think everywhere cohorts are changing since COVID a little bit, and so she's been amazing to work with. And just in the last couple of years, Zoe Paulson, who came from Sacré-Cœur, trained by one of my really good friends, Pauline Steedman, I guess. And so now we have a team of 3, which is just fantastic. So yeah, you have that. I mean, I've worked in schools where I've been on my own, but I really like working in a team, because there's not one day that passes, doesn't matter how experienced you are, that you don't need to ask someone something. And I think that's fabulous, because if you don't get the answer in your own team, you just jump on the computer and you say, like, oh, well, I know who will know this. And that's part of it, Yarra or ACE, for example. You just know that the information is there, and you just have to, if someone doesn't know it, they will know the right person. But I do like working in a team, and I think careers education lends itself to working in a team as well. And as it's expanding across different year levels, I think you do need, obviously we need more careers practitioners to service the students. Yeah, we have about 270 to 80 in each year level. I think that initially hearing Mary McMahon was a bit of a standout for me, because her research was very practical, and so you're getting, I mean, it's always good to go to a conference and you know you're going to hear some theory, but getting practical advice about how to approach different counselling sessions and the different ways you can apply your tools and skills for different students. You know, that was really good. Having that opportunity to hear international speakers from Canada and the US is wonderful, because we can't all get to their conferences. And that's actually something that Naomi said to me originally, you know, join the CDAA, obviously I'd already joined CAV, but join the NCDA as well. You know, that knowledge has been useful as well. The conferences also, there's other practical, like you learn about things that the department's doing, for example, that I would necessarily not know, because being in a private school environment. So any databases they have or any research they're doing, that's always been really useful. And always you have the new kids on the block in terms of tools and programs to assist us. And so speakers who will tell you about what they do in the marketplace for, you know, and you can work out whether they would be suited to your student cohort or not. And so not only the expo areas, which are fantastic to go around and see everybody, but hearing people talk about how they interact with students on a program about interview skills or motivation, or, you know, that sort of thing. It's just, you can't do enough research to know everything that's out there. So the conference is sort of a one-stop shop to help you plan your program and update it and make sure it's relevant for your students. You know, when you do the course, you don't really even know what VTAC is. So we did a whole, you know, sessions on who are VTAC and what do they do and what are their resources. We did sessions on, at that time, that was before sort of Moresby was compulsory for government schools, but when and what would you do with your year 10s to try and help you plan for subject selection and informed decision making. So we went through a lot of resources. It was really about resources and how to use them, but also then how to be confident asking questions and who to ask them to. So it was great, and it gave me a group that I knew I started with that were all in the same place as me in terms of knowledge, really. And so initially you knew you were really comfortable reaching out to those people, but also Frank said, pick up the phone anytime. You know, I'm happy, or email, I'm happy to answer any questions. And, you know, for someone to be in his role at school, but also with CAV, like, you know, he was almost God to us. and so to have him on the other end of the phone was just like, well, how can this go wrong? Because we've got all this knowledge and we've got someone who will support us if we don't know what we're doing. So it was very worthwhile. It was fantastic. So I wrote a couple of articles when I was a bit younger and more excited about what we were doing about our full PD day that we would do, because there weren't many, to my knowledge, there weren't many regional groups who were doing a full day of PD for their members. And so I remember writing an article about, so I think the first one that we did, I can't remember what the topic was, but it was really to help and it was my turn to try and help and inspire other people in other groups to try and think about what they could do for their members, because it's not just about networking, it's about like upskilling as well. And so I did that. And I mean, obviously I always read them. And what I find is that you get perspectives from all over the state, and now even further afield, which is really good, because you can't just rest on your laurels and leave your program as it is. You have to keep up with what's going on in other schools. I think the reading about you hear about who gets the awards at the conferences, but reading about them and what they've done, that's really beneficial too, because you sort of like, you're aspiring to good practice across everything you do. And so if someone wins an award, they're obviously doing something right. So you read about what they've been doing. And so, yeah, everything that's produced is fantastic. But having the ability to submit articles and stuff is also good, if you have time. But reading about what people do is the next best thing to hearing about it, which is great. Way back in my first year, I was awarded David Osborne Award, which was, apart from being overwhelming because I only knew the new career practitioners, that I had that framed, and that's been on my wall in my office ever since. And there's not one day that I don't walk in and look at that and remember David, who was an incredible support for all of us, and very knowledgeable, but also inspiring. That was my first sort of initiation with the awards, and I just thought this was just fantastic. And then seeing other new careers practitioners get that award year after year has been fantastic. And then someone who I did work with initially at St Kevin's was Marianne Mooney, and to know that there's an award named after her is also very fitting and lovely. And then 18 months ago almost to be awarded the Life Member Award, it was like to be awarded something which is respected by your peers, and the peak body in your career, it is better than, I think, getting an award at your school or being. I mean, schools don't necessarily acknowledge everything you do anyway. I mean, ACE knows what we do and how we go about doing it and how much time we contribute if we're on committees, etc. And I think having been recognised for that work, which is not why you do it, but it's very humbling, but also amazing. So I've now got those awards sitting on top of my filing cabinet under David Osborne's certificate. So it's sort of like a little shrine to kind of help me reflect on how fortunate I've been to be in this career and have loved it so much, but also reminds me to keep trying to give back. I'd been at St Kevin's prior on a placement and then on a long service leave replacement for Shirley, and then there was a turnover of staff and they were setting up the new careers area, and they advertised for two people, and I was fortunate to get one of those positions and she was fortunate. So we did sort of a job share situation, and that's the first I'd met her because she came down from New South Wales, I believe. She was working, and then at Swinburne, I think she was. But anyway, that's by the by. So we worked together for about 2 years. You sort of touched on it. I think I'm in a very fortunate position because my school supports us well. I think overall the challenge is definitely the ratio between students and numbers of careers staff. One of the challenges that we have is getting careers education down lower in the curriculum, or really recognised as curriculum at all, to be fair. But we have managed to now, we do a sort of session with the Year 5s, which is fantastic. We started that last year and we're doing that again this year, so that was really good. They wanted to know if there was anyone famous that I'd helped along the way. So that was fun. And we've also been working with Year 9s as well. So we're trying to, but the curriculum is so full in a lot of schools that unless you have a careers subject, it's definitely difficult. And because the careers subject isn't compulsory, there's a lot, well, like we don't have a careers elective even, let alone a core subject. So that means we have to reach out to students via whole cohort assemblies or emails which they don't all read, and or to their parents or whatever. So that is challenging. I think getting the vast amount of information out to students and parents, that's challenging because everyone is time poor, and you'll do the newsletters and you'll put up posts of everything that's going on, for example, the school holiday programs, and you don't really know if people are taking up those offers or not unless the students come back and tell you afterwards. So I think the challenging thing is time with the students and messaging, and the importance of them interacting with us so that we can help them for their own benefit. But as I said, I have nothing to complain about really because we're well supported, but I do know that there's lots of people that really struggle because their leaders and executive, ask them to teach as well as be a full-time careers person. And, people are doing Bourne High, like, 300 or 400 students and teaching French as well, like that sort of thing. That's insane. To learn and remember, you don't really build that into your day. And many of us are fortunate to get out to go to the career practitioners seminars at each of the universities, and that's fabulous. But there are some people that are teaching as well, so they can't leave their Year 12 classes, or there's other people that work 3 days a week and their school won't let them change their days. So if they go, they have to go in their own time. I think there's definitely challenges around schools recognising the profession still. It's a lot better since Bernadette was such an amazing advocate for careers education and with the government. And I think her advocacy and her reports that she wrote and everything have made a huge difference, but there's still a long way to go. I think further to what you were just saying, post-COVID has been really interesting. I was thinking about the PD I did with Naomi, and another thing she was talking about, like way back in the mid-2000s, was online kind of careers education, and at that stage that was something we hadn't really even heard of. We definitely had to, I hate the word, but pivot to do everything we tried, everything we wanted to do with them in person, we had to do online. And now I think in hindsight, having been pushed to do that, we now do it automatically. For example, we do our change of preference at the end of the year all online. And that works so much better because, well, A, students can be at the beach, but B, we don't have a waiting room of students and parents who are nervous or anxious, and a student will come in who got a better ATAR than he thought he was going to get. And then it's an awkward situation. It's an awkward conversation. It's sort of when you can separate the students at that time because they're online, that just works so much better because it's not confronting for anybody. And whereas those conversations used to, like, why are you here? What did you get? What are you going to do? All that. We don't have any of that anymore. And so I think that's a real positive that's come out of COVID. And as you were saying, like meetings, ACE meetings or even our Yarra Careers Group meetings, we now do at least one a year online. And that just helps some people engage with the meetings in live time as opposed to not being able to because they're teaching or not full time. So I think one of the learnings has been how sort of multimodal careers education can be. And we need to thank COVID for that, really. Although there were people like Naomi who probably knew that before, but until you're forced to do it, you don't really do it. So, and also technology's improved, obviously, of course, and technology is a much greater part of what we do now than what it used to be as well. So I think one of the things I'd say is that, I mean, I've been doing this for sort of over 15 years, no, or nearly 20 years now, and I think it's changed a lot. We used to be very paper-based, and now we're not paper-based at all. We used to want to give students all the resources, and now they're looking them up before they've even seen us, or, you know, they're very comfortable looking everything up. I think the unis are changing the way they give us information, and obviously VTAC's having a real think about who and how they engage with students as well. So yeah, I think really just overall the change has been immense. And I guess coming back to ACE, having information about the new technologies is one of the roles that you play for us, which is fantastic. Because as I said before, we can't research everything. So that's really what the conference does for us as well.